This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
And so a roller coaster week in Toronto ends with an OT win against the Dallas Stars. Just how we drew it up. It's the Friday edition of Leafs Morning Take, the Mail It In Friday edition. Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill. Rosehill, how you feeling on this Friday? TGIF, my man.
Feeling good, buddy. We needed that win. Hey, like what a hockey game. I'm pumped, man. Leafs Nation roller coaster. We're just riding it.
My mood's a lot different. I think you would agree from, say, like Tuesday's show to today's show. I feel a bit better, a bit more positive and optimistic, eh?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm just getting used to that Twitter world where, my goodness, a lot changes in a couple of days, doesn't it?
Oh, it's a cesspool. You know this. Remember to subscribe, hit that like button, leave us a review. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest happening, all things Toronto Maple Leafs. And I have to ask you off the top before we dive in over the boards, how shocked were you by Toronto's initial response? That first period, man, was dog shit.
Yeah, I remember I was watching the game and I was thinking to myself, like, is this league too fast now to just go all out effort, like just go nuts? And like, when guys just go out there and they just say screw it and they just unload the tank and they run around like a maniac. You don't have to be putting guys through the boards or anything, but just on that puck like a dog and just overworking everybody. I'm like, is the league too fast to stand out doing that anymore? And that's what I was thinking in the first period. And then all of a sudden, Slick Nick started to take over and doing just that. And I'm like, there it is. That's what we've been missing, especially when you're struggling like they have been at times to get things going. Like that's the answer. Just bring it back to basics and unload the tank every couple of shifts and just see what you can get going. And yeah, like you said, first period, they certainly didn't have that, but things changed.
6 shots on goal, they certainly do. To summarize it, in my opinion, it was not ugly, but like they got the job done. That's all that matters. They got the 2 points, move on. I think Dallas came in with a good road plan early on in the first period, really shut down Toronto from an offensive standpoint, but they gave them way too many power plays. I know the Leafs power play has been really, really struggling, but good to see PP2 chime in there. So certainly I think the Leafs have a bit of momentum as they ride out on a 5-game road trip to start in Winnipeg coming up on Saturday night. With that in mind, let's get over the boards, Rosie. And we will start right there. Slick Nick Robertson, the 21-year-old, had 16 games to his name in the NHL. Game 17, a magical one here in his season debut. 2 tucks, +1, 4 shots on goal, 3 hits, 14-24 of ice. He was outstanding, Rosie.
He was, man. Like, he is a player. Like, watching him in the preseason, it's preseason and you don't really put too much stock into it, but to get called up and have the spotlight on him on a big game against a good team where kind of everyone's watching to see what this kid can do. And if like, it's kind of ridiculous to put, a little bit of your onus in a 21-year-old kid who doesn't have a whole lot of games, but we're hoping, can he change things around? And man, did he ever. Like, I love everything about this guy, and not just because he scored 2 goals last night, but if you watch him and his poise and his confidence and the way he handles himself and his mannerisms, like he's got it going on. I don't think he'll step foot in the AHL again. I think he's here to stay, and I think he's a player, man. And I think those big boys on the Leafs are licking their chops saying, here's a guy we can play with who's got lots going for him. And number one to me was his effort level, just awesome to see. And I kind of want the other guys to take notice on, hey, you might have to work that hard to get yourself out of a jam sometimes.
Energy, pace, and speed, I think, were the 3 buzzwords I would take from Nick Robertson's season debut. I'll be honest, like the first half of the game, really didn't notice him, but as the game got cooking late in the second period into the third period, I really felt like he ignited them, which is crazy to say because you look at the elite players on that roster, I didn't think they were particularly good again, but it's the youngster Nick Robertson. And sometimes you know this. I mean, you played the game, you played in this league. How much can you feed off a young player like this who's got the legs going like Nick Robertson had last night?
Yeah, it's palpable. You can see it through the TV. You know, he's out there buzzing, like I said, not just his 2 goals. Like, it's just take those away. In general, when he had it going there, he is buzzing. He is on the puck. He is stripping the puck. He is making big plays, and the crowd's reacting to it. And you can the next shift and the next line that comes out, they're feeding off of it, and you're just putting building blocks together. And it's such a fast game of momentum that stuff like that goes a long way on the bench. And the next shifts and the next line start to feed off of it, and you could see that. And it's huge, man, and it's great. And I love the effort, and I love him coming in and making an impact. You can't expect him to just carry this team by any stretch. You got to keep things in perspective. But what a great start and a great addition to that roster at this point in time.
I love your optimism. You know me, I'm naturally pessimistic, sadly. I want to see consistency, right? Because Dennis Malgin scored in the season debut too. Like, it doesn't mean squat to me. I know Robertson had a good game. I know he was good in the second half. I understand the accolades. I know he was good in the preseason. But that's sort of the next, box I want to check for a guy like Robertson is consistency. And can he bring it game in and game out? Because if he can, Rosie, he's obviously a big time X factor. Like, what are your projections? And you can chime in the chat interact if you're on YouTube and Twitter live right now. Your expectations, how many goals can Nick Robertson score this season? I ask you that. I had over 15. I think he gets 15 to 20. Is that okay?
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the realm at all. Like I said, the way he carries himself and the poise and confidence says a lot to me. When a guy gets the puck in a crucial spot, and you can almost see it in their face. Is he tensing up? Is he hoping? Is he desperate? Is he really want that to go in? Or is he just got this glare like, I'm gonna snap this thing, and if it doesn't go in, he just goes and attacks it and give me that thing again, give me that thing back. And he's got a little bit of that, and it was impressive to me. And I think can be a 30 goal scorer in this league. Will it happen this year? I don't really like to do that. I don't know. Nobody does, but he's got the potential to be a big boy. And you compare him to Malgin. This guy's a stud. He's nowhere. He's in a different league than Malgin, in my opinion. And I think that's going to show. I have confidence that this guy is legit. I'm not saying he's going to do this every single game, but
Yeah.
he's a player, man. To come up in this game on that team at that point in time with that spotlight and to do that, it says a lot. It wasn't a fluke, and I think he's legit, man. I really liked what I saw.
I just love how a week ago, how horned up we were about Dennis Malgin. Then all of a sudden, a couple games later, it's all about Nick Robertson, albeit again, he didn't crack this roster in a technicality from a salary cap point of view. So I'm very curious, very excited to see what's next for Nick Robertson. Again, he'll be back in the lineup on Saturday against the Winnipeg Jets on Hockey Night in Canada. And I think John Tavares is a good dishman for him too, right? To get him the puck, because the shot is probably the biggest part of Nick Robertson's game. I got a big time question for you on today's show, though, Rosie. Ready for it?
Hit me.
If you played last night, would Jamie Benn be alive today?
Oh, dude, like, Matthews is getting way too many liberties taken with him, man. And he's handling it like a man. He's not whining, complaining. He's not laying on the ice. He's not looking at the ref for calls. And I hate that garbage. And he's not doing it. I like Matthews' game as far as being tough and playing through stuff. But man, that guy's just coming up behind him, feeding his ribs, feeding his kidneys with cross checks, extra shots all the time, just on his hip and just feeding him into the wall. Like, you can't let that happen. And I mean, I want Simmers in for like a Zach Aston Reese. Like, Reese, are you playing? I haven't seen him. I mean, he's getting 10 and 12 minutes of play, doing zero with it, man. You can do more with 4 minutes of play to deter that stuff. Run around, bang some bodies, grab Benn by the scruff after a whistle and say, hey, Benny, you do that one more time, I'm going to unload the tank on you and see if you like that. And Benn's tough too, but he's just not going to play. He's going to go play his offensive stuff and be the big boy that he can play as far as offensive and puck handling and all that stuff. He's going to play hockey, but out there when there's no one to answer to, he likes to say, hey, yeah, I'm going to do whatever I want against these guys because there's no one that's going to do anything about it. And it's been game after game I've been watching it. And I mean, if you want Matthews to just get beat on all year, like, see what happens come April. It's not going to be good. And it's very clear to me that they're just taking liberties because there's no one to answer for it. And I miss Wayne. I'm going to put it out there right now. I miss Wayne. He should be there, and he can do what Aston Reese is doing right now and then some, in my mind.
The Wayne train, to me, I think it's simple. You fill Pierre Engvall's role in the lineup, but I think you're bang on with that assessment. There's a variety of debates that are constantly in flow in this market. Among them, the old toughness versus skill conversation. I thought it was quite evident, to your point last night, where Dallas was doing anything they wanted physically. We saw the cross check on Matthews in the first period. They took a couple runs at Mitch Marner. They took a couple runs at Nick Robertson. Giordano takes a hit in the third period. I think it's unacceptable. And, the old school approach versus the new school. I had people coming at me, as to my tweet on Twitter last night. They won the game. They won the game. I just think long term, you need to protect your stars, because I know it was just like game 5 of the regular season, Rosie, but it had sort of that playoff feel. Like that's the type of game you're going to see in the Stanley Cup playoffs. No tight checking, not a lot of space, and a physical brand.
Yeah, it was a good hockey game to watch, and good hockey
Yeah.
is playoff hockey. It had that feel a little bit for a game 5 of the regular season, obviously. But yeah, I mean, you go back to Benn. I mean, he just comes up behind Matthews and just tries to hurt him, right?
Yeah.
And if you do that, you know that A, I'm just going to do this because I can, or B, I might have to fight tonight. And getting in a bare knuckle fight with a grown man is a big thing. It's a decision you have to make. And most of the
Yeah.
time, a guy like that is not going to be feeling like getting in a bare knuckle fight with a grown man. So he's just going to not do that stuff. But when you know that's not an option, you're going to go and take those liberties and try to wear down their star and try to get him to shut down for the night and say, I'm not going to the tough places. This is hurting me. And it might not even be a mental thing that you decide to do, but just psychologically, you're going to stay away from that stuff when you're just getting beat on. And Marner, Matthews, those guys don't need to be getting hammered on like that. And if they continue to let it happen, they're gonna pay a price for it. And it's already kind of showing with the way these guys are getting beat on. I don't think Matthews needs to be playing through that crap.
Yeah, I just think it's the same old conversation on social media between the analytics community and the eye test community, where it's like it's so abundantly clear in my mind that you need somebody there. I'm not saying go out there and get Tom Wilson. Like, he's a rare breed in this league, but you need somebody to defend the players. Like, it's not going to be Michael Bunting. It's not going to be Mark Giordano. There's literally nobody on this roster who is going to defend the honor of Auston Matthews or John Tavares or Mitch Marner. I think it's fucking concerning. I won't lie. Like, the fact that you have this premier talent, these superstars, the Hart Trophy winner, and they're just taking shots at this guy. And maybe it's the old school mentality in me, Rosie, but you need to protect your star players. These guys are making the bread. Ultimately, they're going to win the games for you. And if the opposition's just running around doing whatever they want, I just think it sets a bad precedence. That's just my opinion.
And you don't even have to go out and get someone and make a big splash and pull someone
Yeah.
else out of the lineup who's doing something to inject that and have people go haywire. You got a guy sitting right there who's got 1,000 games, a ton of experience, and can play bloody hockey, and he can play a defensive role. He can do whatever you want. He's sitting right there. He's on your roster. He's in your locker room. So use him, man.
I'm with you. And we're not saying every game, but I think especially against a heavier team like the Dallas Stars, even Mason Marchman, Yanni Hakanpää, like they were playing physical. And I think Dallas knew it going into the game. And never underestimate Pete DeBoer, has a lot of experience coaching in the National Hockey League. Next up for the Leafs, Rosie, as you know, Saturday night, they visit the Winnipeg Jets to kick off a 5-game road trip. Winnipeg is 2-2-0, and Rick Bowness, perfectly enough, former head coach of the Dallas Stars, now with Winnipeg, has been out dealing with COVID, but expected to make his debut behind the Winnipeg bench. And it's always fireworks, it seems, every time Winnipeg and Toronto get together. What was that matchup like for you?
Yeah, it was good. Like I was there when, the Jets first came back into the league, and I remember standing in the
Yeah.
tunnel for that first game, and there's not as many people that you can pack into that barn that you can, say, in the Bell Center or in some of the other big barns in the league that hold
Yeah.
24,000. And it was so loud, so electric, and it's a good place to play, man. And anytime you're going to a Canadian city and playing a team like that, and there's only a handful of Canadian teams, and when you play each other, it's the crowd's going to be into it no matter what. There's going to be a split in fans, and everyone's kind of excited for it. So it's going to be a big game. They got it handed to them last night by
Yeah.
the Golden Knights. I looked in after the Leafs game and took a peek. It was 4 Cobb after like 17 minutes. I can't believe that. So they'll be looking to bounce back, obviously, and the Leafs will want to keep this train going and improve their record a little bit.
I think Connor Hellebuck wakes up on a daily basis throughout his NHL career and he just pleads to the gods, get me a backup goalie. I don't know what they were thinking your boy David Chronicles of Riddick was going to be the answer. Former Toronto Maple Leaf for a cup of tea. He was awful as a Leaf. He's been awful for X amount of years. I know he had his moment in the sun with the Calgary Flames, big save Dave. It's now no save Dave. Not to pile up on the guy, but again, I just feel for Connor Hellebuck because when you think you're getting rest and relaxation, you're not. You're losing hockey games. But I'm really excited about the goaltending matchup in that game. We expect Connor Hellebuck to get the call a couple years removed from winning the Vezina Trophy. And your boy, this is your boy, confirmed. You were very high on Ilya Samsonov to start his Leafs career, correct?
Yeah, I am. Hellebuck, obviously great goalie. He stands in there for him, and yeah, like you say, it sucks to be a goalie, and when you get a night off, to get shelled, and then to come back in, then you just have more pressure and more on your plate when you come back instead of having a little breather and a reset. It's almost like you get more piled on when your backup's not doing much for you to help out. But yeah, I'm big on Sammer. Like, I mean, he hasn't lost yet, right?
Undefeated. Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
can we not just at least touch on that? Like, he
We can
has not
acknowledge that. Yeah,
lost.
it's three
He
games. Okay, go ahead.
he looks solid. He's maybe let in one weak goal 7-hole, and I like the way he looks. That's all you can say. There's only all you can do is judge him on his body of work, and his body of work has been solid. And I think that he's got good pedigree. I do not care what happened in Washington. He was a first rounder for a reason, and he's come in here and he's handled it well so far. So I like him a lot, and he doesn't seem to be a guy that gets rattled. He doesn't seem to be a guy that gets too invested in anything any which way. And like I've said, your highs can't be too high, your lows can't be too low. And I kind of feel like he's got the ability to stay even keel in the net there, especially while Murray's banged up and out for who knows how long.
No news is good news, in my opinion, and that relates to the goaltending situation. If nobody's talking about it, if nobody's alluding to it, I think it's excellent news. And I think he was steady. Like, I don't think he was overly tested, but he made the saves
Yep.
against the Dallas
Yep.
Stars. That's all you can ask for. Not to mention, I'm not sure the second goal should have counted. What was your read on that? I know it was called back again. The second straight game where a video review did not go in favor of the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I had no problem with that. I don't think that's goalie interference. I mean, imagine that's a Maple Leaf coming near the opposing goalie and they call our goal back. We'd be losing our minds saying, what league are we
Yeah.
playing where that's goalie interference? I don't think Sagan interfered with them. If anything, he kind of got ridden in and didn't even really affect the ability to make the stop. You're going to have traffic. You're going to have bodies in front of you and near you. I like that they called that back, even though it wasn't in our favor. I don't want to see goals called back because of that type of interference. It wasn't interference in my mind. What do you think?
Mondays was more questionable for me. I'm along the same lines as you. It was unfortunate, but I think Marner sort of helped the process into Samsonov. And you hate to see that, but again, I'm looking for offense league-wide, so I had no problems with that, although it did not go in the favor of the Maple Leafs, but it worked out in the long run. I should add, too, like, what a blessing for the Leafs, too, taking nothing away from Wedgwood. But to not see Jake Ottinger in this game, I don't know why Dallas elected to go this route. I know Wedgwood's a local product, but Jake Ottinger is one of the best goaltenders on the planet. You're playing one of the top offenses, and you put your backup in. Like, I just thought it was bizarre.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that. I was happily surprised to see that because
Yes.
Ottinger is so damn good for them. So I thought, oh baby, we can get a couple of easy ones maybe. But I thought he played solid. He certainly didn't lose the
Yeah.
game, and there was plenty of good chances that he turned aside. So Ottinger would have done the same or more. Who knows how it would have gone if he was in net? But it was nice. I don't really understand the play either against that firepower that you know is just waiting to
Yeah.
pounce here in Toronto. Interesting timing, but he took a flyer on it and almost worked. They got a point out of it at least, I guess. But I definitely expected to see Ottinger in there last night.
In this era of analytics, expect the unexpected. That's all I can say. Everybody's trying to big brain everything. Like Marty Berdeur's laughing at this shit, man. The guy played 65, 70 games a year, then won the Stanley Cup. And all of a sudden, it's like, no, our number one, we got to coddle them. We got to apologize to them. And the backups have to play quite frequently. We want our backups in once a week. That's pretty much what happened with Wedgwood. They want him to stay fresh. Fresh for what? You have a number one goaltender, but I digress. Okay, it's time to win some money back, Rosie. It's time to get to the wrap-up brought to you by our friends at Pointsbet Canada.
Right on.
I wasn't going to go undefeated, Rosie. We know this. I was feeling good about Auston Matthews. I referenced the numbers, 8 goals in 7 games against the Dallas Stars, and unfortunately, he did not hit last night. So we're going to start a new streak today. Give me the Tampa Bay money line, coming in at even money as we speak right now at -110. It's the first rendition of the Battle of Florida this season. I think Matthew Tkachuk is going to be horned up. I think the Panthers are going to be horned up, and I don't know if they're going to answer the bell in this game. On top of that, I think Tampa's in dire need of 2 points. They have 1 win in their first 4 games, and I think it's time for the closer, Andrei Vasilevsky, to shut the door. So I think Tampa wins tonight against the Panthers.
Yeah, I like that pick. They're definitely due. And when you look at the division, you're not used to seeing them down at the bottom there in the last 3 years, So I don't think that's where they're going to stay by any stretch. And like you say, I think they're due for one. And on that money line, it's pretty good money. So yeah, I don't condemn your pick last night either. I mean, he was due and he had a solid game, set up the winner, and nothing wrong with Matthews and picking him to score anytime he's on the board. It's not a bad pick, obviously, a guy that can put up 60 recently. So I'm not going to write you off just yet. You've been hot and you're still hot in my mind. So yeah, I'll definitely watch that big game, Battle of Florida. And I like the Lightning too to respond and get one on the board.
And you see on your screen right now, PointsBet has Tampa as a slight favorite in that game. I've been seeing it at even money elsewhere, but that's what we'll go with, PointsBet Canada, and Tampa slightly favored in this game for reasons as we expect. And also, Noah Ekblad for the Florida Panthers, injured long-term there. And it's just a different Panthers team. And to be honest, like, the Panthers are a team that have molded themselves to trying to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning this season. That's pretty much what they were thinking and what they were doing, going out and acquiring Matthew Tkachuk. So I'm really, really looking forward to that one. But again, I'm on the Tampa Bay money line in this game tonight. Another thing I wanted to tackle moving forward, again, so the Leafs getting set to face off against the Winnipeg Jets on Saturday night. The power play, man, like it's been stinking up the joint. And that was one of our keys going into the game last night. We knew the lack of discipline from the Dallas perspective. Toronto was 1 for 8 on the peeper, and their only power play goal came from PP2. Is it too early, Rosie, to make changes to the first power play unit?
That'll be up to them. They're going to run some things in practice and see where they're finding holes and see what they're hooking up with. Obviously, with that skill set on that first unit, you certainly don't write them off, or you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But like you said, the second unit got it done, and they went ahead and started the second unit there in the second period, and kind of led with them. When that's what you got to do when something's not clicking. But something I noticed right away there is, the first unit goes out there. Marner's out there. He's got it low near the net, and he does this behind the back flip pass through the seam to nobody, like a hoper that's gone through 2 sticks. It's just a low percentage play. When you're grinding and you're trying to find something, that is not the stuff that gets it done. That's the stuff that keeps blowing up in your face, and it keeps doing that for Mitch Marner. He's starting to really stand out for his ugly turnovers, like standing right in the top of the circles in the D zone, gets the puck, doesn't even attempt to move his feet, and does some little backhanded spot pass that goes the other way and damn near, is in the back of his net, where you throw the second line out there, get it to the top, simply put it off a pad, get shots on net, Kerfoot bangs one in. You got to go back to basics. And I think that's why they're starting to run that second unit a little bit more, is all that fancy crap, it doesn't work. When things aren't working, you got to simplify. Coaches preach that all the time. And the second unit did exactly that. Get it up high, get it through traffic, get bodies near the net, a shot off the pad, and bang, it's in the back of the net. That backhand floaty garbage, that doesn't work when a unit is struggling. And I think that's Marner thinks that's all he has. I don't know if he's thinking more about the highlight reel on Instagram than he's thinking about actually getting the unit going. But it kind of looks like that with that fancy shit that he's throwing. It doesn't work.
The Leafs 4 for 22 on the early season through 5 games on the power play. And again, if you want to get interactive here on YouTube, on Twitter, send us your comments, your thoughts. If you have a question, write it now. We'll get to it here to wrap up the show. But certainly, I think you look at it from the Marner perspective. I was not impressed again last night. Like, maybe it was foolish of me to expect a bit more given everything that's transpired with the media and Sheldon Keefe and Marner's comments. I didn't see it. I didn't think he was good last night. And to that point, I did not like the body language of Auston Matthews and Mitch Marner last night. They were slumped over. They were sulking. They were bitching at everybody, the officials. They were yelling out. Like I wasn't crazy about it. I know it's a long season. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. But I think it's up to the coaching staff and the personnel to sort of manage these players a bit looser and tighter, maybe even too, because I just wasn't crazy about sort of the expression on the ice. I don't know if you felt the same way last night.
Yeah, I notice it more so with Marner than I do Matthews.
Yeah.
I like Matthews more. He's kind of got a little bit more of that head down, ass up attitude where he just keeps going and
Yeah.
keeps moving forward. Marner kind of goes. I think to coach these new guys, I talk to guys I used to play with and guys I know that are coaching, whether it be the American League or the NHL or the WHL or junior, whatever. These kids that are coaching right now, that are being coached right now, they're very difficult and they're very fragile. And I don't know if Marner is that guy or not. He's kind of
Yeah.
that new age type of guy, millennial, Gen Z, whatever you want to call it. But they're fragile, and you say the wrong thing to these guys, and they can go into a shell for a long time, and you can just break them. So you kind of got to tiptoe around, which is super annoying. I mean, you're a grown man in this league. Let's be able to take a little bit of criticism or some advice. And I'm not sure if he's that way or not, but like you say, he's standing out too much for the wrong reasons. He's turning the puck over, and he's doing it in a way that just it's low percentage plays. It's too fancy. And like I said, when you're trying to get things going, you got to simplify. You don't turn up the fancy BS behind the back, little spotty sauce pass across two sticks, flat-footed, and expect that to work when you're trying to find your game. You got to go back to basics, get pucks on net, pass off pads, crash the net, bang in rebounds, and then all of a sudden you're flying high, your confidence is high, things start rolling for you. That's always been the case with hockey. I think coaches preach that all the time for a reason, and Marner's just not doing the opposite of that right now from what I can see.
There's no doubt in my mind he's going to get cooking, but I think to your point, simplifying the game is the way to go. Like he's just trying to do too much. You can tell like he's gripping his stick too hard. To an extent, I think Matthews is in the same conversation. I don't know if it's directly correlated again to everything that's happened. We heard Mitch Marner's comments following Sheldon Keefe and what he had to say on Monday, and I'm totally right there with you. Do I agree with the fact that in the modern day you can't criticize these kids? Probably not. I'm only 33 years old. I'm not like 63. I think there's too much coddling in this day and age. Like it's fucking ridiculous to me, quite honestly. If you want to tell somebody they're not playing well, then I think you're allowed to. If these guys are making 11 million bucks a season, you can tell them what you want to. But the game has just changed so much. So from Marner's perspective, it's got everything to do with confidence. I think he's really, really fighting it right now, but eventually he's going to snap out of this thing.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, elite players like that, it takes a lot more to lose their confidence than it would somebody else because they know what they're capable of, and
Yeah.
confidence is a big thing in the game. But as far as tiptoeing around, and I liked the response from them as far as what they said to the media regarding Keefe's comments. They're like, dude, we didn't even really know that he said it at first, and then he told us about it and said what do you mean, and we said, yeah, dude, like we're fine.
Yeah.
Like they even said we're grown men. So I do like that, their verbal response to that, and saying like you're not going to break us, and that's good to hear, because some guys can't handle that kind of thing. You say one thing
Yeah.
about them personally and it's this big emotional breakdown, which is just embarrassing in that league. It's a league
Yeah.
of men. It's not
Yeah.
teenagers trying to find their way with their self-esteem and all that bullshit. You're in the NHL. It's time to, this is business, right? So it's good to know that they can at least say the right things. But as far as his play goes, man, you gotta find it, and he will. But I just don't
Yeah.
like the way he's trying to find it with the low percentage plays and the turnovers and the poor defensive play. And it's got to go back to basics, I think, and they'll get clicking. And my prediction is that it'll get clicking with a greasy goal of one of them just going in and banging one in.
And who knows, maybe it starts on Saturday night against the Winnipeg Jets. It's always great to finish off the week with a victory and getting set for another game, Rosie. Excellent job, and we'll talk on Monday, okay?
Right on. Hopefully, we keep this mood going.
Yeah, because I feel much better than I did on Tuesday. We'll say that. So for Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll reconvene on Monday, hopefully after another Maple Leafs victory. Have a great weekend.